New Frontier Craft 1.8.6. It's been too long. And for the year and a half that you've waited for an update, this is not any gigantic game-changing update. It doesn't really do too much to the gameplay itself, but it's a pretty nice update. Now, I'm going to assume that you watched New Frontier Craft Direct for 1.8.6 before this, and if you have not watched that, I recommend doing that right now. That goes over the basics, the basic major things that are being added in, so I'm not going to go too much into what has been added. I'll be going into concepts, I'll be going into the future, I'll be going into the details of this update, but not the really big things that have been added in their full explanation. That is for New Frontier Craft Direct. And Direct was not made by me, it was made by Roadhog, which he has been an absolutely stellar teammate, and I've told him this, but he really has been. He's been keeping me on my toes, he's offered really constructive criticism, he is really good at keeping an eye on the community, better than I have been. We make a really good team, and he's one of the reasons that 1.8.6 is out now instead of 2 years, because at one point it was just like, we gotta start slicing this up and just say we gotta finish an update. It's been way too long. You know, the past year and a half has been very busy for me. That includes about 3 semesters of college, each of them getting more and more intense as they go. I believe my most intense semester is now behind me. But that doesn't stray from the fact that I hardly worked on New Frontier Craft during those semesters, so it really only came down to when I was on break. And that's not that much time, so that's why it's taken so long to get this update. Now, coming from 1.8.5, 1.8.5 has lived up to its full potential as the first official update. And what was meant by the first official update is that the world stays. There is no world change this time. We've been through 2 New Frontier Craft worlds, we're not going to be through 3. This is where we stay. Now, there still has been some ore changes from 1.8.5, and we're not going to see that in the terrain that we're in on the main server. So I'll have to create a new warp out in the 1.8.6 terrain if you want to see these changes. There are 4 ore changes. 1, the least important to you, but most important to me, is gold. Now, for a while, gold was very rare, and I actually really didn't change it too much throughout this time of changing from 1.8.3 to 0.4 to 0.5, because it seemed rare, and I liked that, and I liked how it was generated into this big dispersed cloud, so you'd be inside a cave and you'd occasionally find bits of gold here and there, so it was like a gold cave. But people didn't really realize how to actually mine the stuff. That you can, once you completely trench out the area around some gold, you will find a lot more gold just very dispersed. If you find a cloud, which is not too uncommon to find, mostly since it's so stretched out, you can get a stack of gold. But people didn't know that until somewhere in the beginning of 1.8.5, and now gold really isn't that uncommon anymore. I was hoping for it to be a cool, rare material that you can find in dungeons, but looks like it's a little too common for that. I was going to try to add in some cool tools, maybe, that gold could be utilized in, but that's not going to happen anymore. Gems are probably going to be the main loot of dungeons, and maybe gold here and there nonetheless, but I have decreased gold by almost 50% in the terrain. Although that's still not going to solve the problem, because even with having the amount of gold in everyone's chests, there's still going to be quite a lot of gold around. So, a little bit rare, well, quite a bit rare, but still not really going to live up to what I imagined for gold, so, oh well. Second is chrome. It is way too inconsistent for being part of the main track of developing through New Frontier Craft in your tier and your metal. Steel is supposed to be, you know, the major step to getting to tier 4, and chrome is very inconsistent. Sometimes you find it a lot, sometimes it takes way too long to find another set of chrome. I have increased its consistency by about 10%, so you're probably going to basically be finding it 10% more in caves, It's not necessarily 10% more in general, it's just more consistent. And that might not sound like very much, but believe me, just a little number like that can quickly be game-changing. So I believe that should be enough. We'll see how that goes. And lastly, we have coal, which has had a lot of complaints. Now, one thing I don't think people know is how to get it. The main way you find coal is by finding one set and then digging around and finding another nearby set. If you don't know that technique, then you are only finding half the amount of coal that you're probably supposed to find. You might have noticed coal kind of generates near each other often, but there was a big bug connected to this, and this is probably why no one was putting this together, that they actually generate pretty close to each other. Whenever you find one, you'll find another. It is just how it is. The bug was, back in like 1.8.3, when I had, they're called concentrated veins because it's several veins nearby each other, I actually had like a decent height difference between them, so they would generate like, you know, harder to find because you would have to be trenching a good bit in order to find that other vein. In 1.8.5, I switched it from generating like this to like this around the same level, just a little bit of difference. So trenching around would be a lot easier, but I didn't change that on the server. On the server, it's still been generating like this since 1.8.3. I forgot to do that. So, yeah, sorry guys, that's probably why you're not finding coal very often right now and never put together that coal generates in sets of 2. And the same goes for anthracite. Anthracite generates in sets of 3. They're a little bit farther apart, but, you know, with the old generation, 1.8.3, it's like way, like far apart from each other, so you'd probably never pick up on that. So that has been fixed server side. But nonetheless, I still have increased coal by a little bit in its consistency. By, instead of generating from height 0 to 100, it generates from height 0 to like 96. It's about a 5% increase in consistency. You'll see it in the ground more often, since it'll be generating the air less often. And again, that's not that much of a number. The big reason is, you know, if we ever do get to the industrial update, the main point of having lower amount of coal is that you find other areas of getting energy from solar, wind, nuclear. I mean, oil still hasn't been utilized yet, and it's not going to be in 1.8.6, but yeah, at least hope that helps you out a little bit, but I'm sure everyone's still going to be making a good bit of charcoal until that day comes. Let's go to 1.8.6, what it adds. It is called the construction update, because the big 3 things that have been added are scaffolding, ladders being able to hang off of anything, the wrench being able to rotate things around, and I'm sure I'll build onto the wrench in the future updates. Plus, slabs being able to face any direction, not just upwards, not just also downwards, but sideways. You got stairs being able to face any direction upside down too. All that's been covered in the new Frontiercraft Direct, along with the plated stone and being able to mine ice. Those are the major additions. Some of the other kind of outside the construction idea additions are the telescope, the FOV slider, and one thing that was not mentioned in the Direct is complete texture pack support. That instead of having to install like MC Patcher or use Optifine to make higher resolution texture packs work, now New Frontiercraft just has it work. That took a lot of fixing. You know, it went from weird stuff being rendered on blocks to you couldn't do animations, so even in 16x16 texture packs, you can do custom animations now for water and lava. All that good stuff is now supported. Couple of changes. First and foremost, a nice aesthetic change is I have changed the brick texture, just the generic brick texture. I've kind of combined the old alpha texture with the beta texture, and I've gotten something that looks really nice. Other nice things like slabs crafting to 6 blocks instead of 4 or 3 as it used to be in beta, or all beta. What I've done now is when you place slabs together, it forms back into its original whole piece. So, since you can convert 3 whole pieces to 6 slabs, and then put them back to 3 whole pieces, it's a 1-to-1 transformation. And I'm sure that'll be nice. And lastly, stairs drop stairs. Finally, why did it only drop a plank or a cobblestone? I don't know, but stairs drop stairs. And a big thing of 1.8.6 is this is just a gigantic cleanup update, really. Like, going from... most notably, I fixed... This took a long time, even though it's not going to make that big of a difference. I fixed how stairs render. Like, they looked really janky before. Now it looks a lot cleaner because it renders as like one solid block on one side instead of separate ones. Big request, I guess this is more of a change, but it's also cleanup, is people were having trouble figuring out when to take out one of the secret discs, the rainbow secret disc. I'm trying to be as obscure as possible, but I have changed the texture for it so it's a lot more noticeable when it's ready, and just a bajillion bug fixes, from textures to crafting to hardness misalignments between the server and the client to spelling to things not properly implemented server side, physics bugs. I'll list all that here at the end of the video when I do this big ol' scroll of everything that's been changed in 1.8.6. Now, one thing that has been added, and I've left at the bottom of 1.8.6, is the new dungeon generator that I built for Bucket a few months ago during the summer to create structures that you can generate with like structure packs. Has been implemented into New Frontier Craft. Unfortunately, I don't think the community is big enough for that to truly be utilized yet, but it is innately in New Frontier Craft now. You will see a folder on your Minecraft directory called Structure Packs, right next to Texture Packs, and you will see the New Frontier Craft dungeons as they are in text file format, in their structure format, inside of the Minecraft directory, inside the default New Frontier Craft structure zip, or whatever I called it. It has a lot of potential, and I spent probably more time than I needed to trying to add that in, but I think some really cool stuff can be added through that. I already saw in the New Frontier Craft Discord earlier today someone being like, well, why don't we add more surface dungeons? And that's exactly why I added that, to make it a lot easier just to throw a surface dungeon in like a text format to generate into the terrain. And we can all contribute to that. Now we got 2 big issues that are still known. I mean, there's many issues that are still known, but those are a lot more subtle than these 2. The one less important issue is that slabs are all still treated like stone. A wooden slab still has a normal pickaxe effective against it and not an axe. In order to fix this, I'm going to need to create some crazy world conversion generator thing. Not really generator. Just a big bad thing that takes in a world and all of the IDs and metadata and spits out some new IDs and metadata in some places, because the way hardness works is through the ID, and all of the slabs that are like downward and upwards all have the same ID, so they're all treated as one type of material. And since most slabs are stone, everything is stone for now. Until I can separate the IDs through some converter, we're stuck with that for now. And a converter would be really nice if we moved to modern, and more on that shortly. But the big issue is sound. Sound is broken because Mojang took down their downloads their legacy downloads for the sounds. So whenever you boot up Minecraft, it doesn't automatically download anymore because it doesn't exist anymore. Why'd they do that? I don't know. Was it really that expensive? I don't know. But we don't have that anymore. And a difficult part about that is some of those sounds are C418 sounds, not just freesounds.org or wherever they might have come from. So that gets a little iffy with posting that. I do have, if you have a resources folder that has all the sounds still, just copy that into your Minecraft directory. I'm sure we all have some somewhere in some backup of our old Minecraft directories and whatnot. I have included a download on on projectrestoration.freeforums.com.net. I'll link it in the description, of a sound pack that includes the old sounds in it. That should do for now. It'll work with New Frontiercraft. But something kind of cool about this now is that we're not constantly overwriting the sounds. So you can actually replace some of the sounds with your own custom sounds now. But at the same time, New Frontiercraft does not default come with these sounds anymore. You'll have to install sounds on your own for old Minecraft first, before getting New Frontiercraft sounds to work properly. If your sounds are already working for New Frontiercraft, then no need to worry. This is just when you install New Frontiercraft for the first time, like beta for the first time on a new computer, will this be an issue. And this brings me to my chat about Modern. Now, I'll try to keep it brief, but I'm sure I'm going to be talking about this for a little bit, because it's a big concept. I wasn't expecting sounds to break, and who knows what's going to break next. Beta is tough to develop in. I've already said that a million times, but now we're fighting time more and more as we stay in beta. Authentication's broken, and I've had to fix that. Then skin's broke, and I had to fix that. Now sound's broken, I can't really fix that. I guess I could, but I'd have to add in some of my own sounds to remove all of them with copyright, and then that's not old Minecraft anymore. It's a mess. So, moving to Modern is still very strongly in my mind. There's this big vote that happened a few months ago of like, do you guys want to move to Modern? And it smashed the vote for staying in beta. But I'm not going to do that quite yet. In fact, my plan is to make a different Modern New Frontiercraft that's, and this will start getting into how I'm going to do versions now, but so let's say, and I'll come back to this Modern thing in a second. I want to start releasing updates a lot more frequently now because of this big bad update that's waited so long. I'm still not going to be able to do too much while I'm at college and do some over the break, but I obviously need to be releasing smaller updates more frequently because this was rough. It was nice to see the community come back strongly here this winter after, still haven't had an update in a year and a half. And even see some new faces. It's been very motivating to try to get this out as soon as possible. But I still think we need to see some more updates more often now if we want to keep building this community. So, the 1.8.x, that last number, we're going to be seeing that increase a lot more often here in the near future because that will just be a small update. That's not going to be this big update like 1.8.5 to 1.6, like 1.8.4 to 1.8.5. That last little number at the end has been treated as very heavy. So that's going to be no longer. The _01 is for, or 02 is for when a game-breaking bug has been detected, and that's like an emergency update. So the 1.x, that second number, is going to be the heavier updates when I actually start adding in industrial things. It may not even be like a complete industrial update, but it will still be a game-changing update, not just an additions and nice things update. But then that first number, the 1, that will designate the New Frontiercraft version, like, for what version of Minecraft that it's in. New Frontiercraft 1 will be 1.7.3 beta. New Frontiercraft 2 could be 1.7.10 modern. New Frontiercraft 3 could be the most modern version. You know, New Frontiercraft, the thing that makes it different from the mods out there is that it's all, you know, it kind of looks at Technic, it kind of looks at big mod renovations like Terra Firmacraft, and takes pieces from all that and makes it one unified experience, where in Technic it was just a bunch of stuff melded together. Of course, some of the mod creators did work with each other to create one unified experience, but still, it's a ton of different people, kind of disorganized. You can find, you know, loops in the game to just break the game with infinite energy of some form. And then things like Terra Firmacraft that does have diversity, that does have unified experience, but it's very hard. Or looking at Better Than Wolves, you know, that was a really good mod, but the creator, as we all know, was a bit of a butt. So, New Frontiercraft kind of takes the best of all these things, the best it can with the amount of time that I have to develop stuff, and makes just one big experience with it. And that's what makes New Frontiercraft stand apart. You know, if I were to move to a modern version, I think one of the biggest things I'd love to do is either do, you know, a beta generator of how it generates the world, or one of the cool realistic world generators that I've seen, but that's not like super realistic because I still want it to be Minecraft, because that's an aspect of New Frontiercraft. But there's still going to be old Minecraft aspects in the modern versions of the game, but I'm going to keep them a little bit more separate, so then I'm not trying to create the same thing across all the platforms. It will, you know, adapt to its version of the game a little bit. It's not just going to be where New Frontiercraft's at, and therefore, I will still develop the beta one. That's my plan right now, but that's also the plan with how I'm going to develop versions in the future. So expect 1.8.7 not too long down the road. My next semester hopefully will be a little bit lighter, or a good bit lighter compared to my last semester, and all I'm going to do is add a couple of things, and release 1.8.7. and just start getting a more consistent feel with updates. But yeah, that's my perspective on Modern right now. Oh, one more thing. The secret disc, because this is an even update. Your hint is seaweed. And it has the track made by Snuppeluppen, the first true fan-made track for New Frontiercraft. Because, I mean, I know Evan. He's made tracks for the background music, but he's my friend. Snupple is the first online fan that has created something for it, and it's pretty nice, so it's on the record. Wait a second, seaweed. Did I just add some form of weed? Where's that source code?